It wasn't until my teenage years that I fully grasped the weight of these prejudices, an awakening marked by a visceral understanding of the world around me. Each lingering handshake, sideways glance, and cautious tone of voice served as a constant reminder that my identity was both a symbol of pride and a target for discrimination, a duality that felt as heavy as it was complicated. I vividly recall one specific incident during my sophomore year of high school, a pivotal turning point in my burgeoning awareness of socio-political dynamics. Eager to carve out my own space for self-expression, I joined a local debate team, driven by a fierce determination to articulate my views, advocate for systemic change, and challenge societal norms that I had increasingly come to recognize. No sooner had I shared my opinions than I was consistently interrupted, my contributions dismissed with a wave of disdain, as though my words were less valid simply because of the melanin that graced my skin. Yet rather than quelling my spirit, these disrespectful remarks and dismissive attitudes only fueled my desire to dismantle the barriers that separated me from belonging. I began to understand that every slight and every impediment was not merely a personal affront, but a reflection of a larger system of inequity that I was determined to challenge. With each debate, I harnessed the hurt, channeling it into my arguments with a newfound vigor that transformed my passion for social justice into a steadfast commitment to advocacy. I vowed not only to find my voice, but to amplify others who felt similarly silenced, forging a path where dialogue could thrive and understanding could flourish amidst the discord. These microaggressions came in the form of well-meaning yet insidious comments that questioned my abilities and potential at every turn. It became painfully clear to me that racism, as a subject, was not confined to overt acts of hatred or violent discrimination. Rather, it was intricately woven into the fabric of our everyday lives, manifesting itself in subtler, yet more insidious ways. It revealed itself in the dismissive manner in which some professors redirected my questions, and in the assumptions by peers that my achievements were merely products of affirmative action rather than the result of hard work and talent. These experiences were not isolated incidents. They painted a broader picture of a system that frequently undermined the very existence of individuals who dared to challenge the status quo. However, despite these formidable challenges, I pursued academia with relentless determination, unwavering motivation to redefine what it meant to be an African American in a society intent on stifling voices like mine. My ambition became a beacon of resistance, illuminating the path for others who would follow and illustrating that our stories were deserving of a prominent place in the narrative of higher education. My professional life, once I stepped into the bustling corridors of corporate America, posed yet another arena where prejudices thrived. In an office that touted diversity as a hallmark of its values, I often found myself isolated as the only person of color in various board meetings. I was invited to participate in discussions not solely for the merit of my ideas, but rather to showcase the company's commitment to its diversity initiatives. All too frequently, my contributions were minimized, and when I passionately spoke about the need for equity, my words were sometimes dismissed as emotional. Each day became a challenge, a silent war waged in conference rooms where the stakes were not measured in dollars, but in dignity. As I navigated this intricate landscape, I sought solace in the support of a small group of colleagues who shared similar experiences. Together, we formed an informal network, a sanctuary where we could communicate candidly about our challenges and strategize on how to elevate our voices in a system that frequently attempted to silence them. We organized lunch and learns, inviting others to listen to our stories and understand our perspectives, creating a ripple effect of awareness within the office. This humble initiative allowed us to subtly shift the narrative from mere tokenism to a genuine appreciation of diverse viewpoints and lived experiences. Yet the struggle for recognition remained daunting. During one particular meeting, I presented a proposal aimed at fostering inclusive practices within our team. The room filled with murmurs of tentative agreement. However, when it came time to vote on the initiative, it fell flat. The project was sidelined under the pretext of budget constraints, an all too familiar refrain that echoed the sidelining of my ideas, reflecting a broader issue within the corporate culture of prioritizing appearance over action. It was disheartening, but rather than retreating into despair, I resolved to refine my approach. I gathered data from reputable organizations that had successfully implemented similar strategies, bolstering my proposal with compelling facts and figures that highlighted the efficacy of diversity initiatives. Slowly, I witnessed a shift in the conversations around the table, with my colleagues, influenced by my persistent advocacy, beginning to truly see the considerable value in the changes I proposed, reinforcing the importance of equity in a thriving workplace. In the following months, this newfound momentum led to the establishment of an official diversity committee, which granted me the opportunity to serve as a co-chair. It was a pivotal moment in my career that transformed my isolation into influence. I had transitioned from being a mere participant in discussions to being a catalyst for change. My voice, once stifled, resonated through the halls of power. As the committee's initiatives began to take root, ranging from mentorship programs aimed at fostering a new generation of leaders to diversity training sessions designed to address systemic biases, I felt a renewed sense of purpose. For the first time, I witnessed colleagues stepping up to offer genuine support, championing the cause alongside me. The work was far from over, but each small victory, each newfound ally, reinforced my belief that the struggle against prejudice could lead not only to personal growth, but also to meaningful transformation within our corporate culture. Reflecting on my journey, I realized that the challenges I faced were not simply obstacles, but opportunities for advocacy and leadership. My experiences taught me that it was essential to continue pushing for equity and representation, not just for myself, but for those who would follow. I became a mentor, a guide to those entering the corporate world, sharing lessons learned and carving pathways where none seemed to exist. In doing so, I turned my personal battles into collective triumphs, proving that resilience can pave the way for change. Amid these trials, I discovered solace and strength in unexpected places, often when I least anticipated it. One particularly transformative experience unfolded during a community initiative I helped launch in my urban neighborhood, a free educational program envisioned to empower youths from marginalized backgrounds. This initiative was not merely about disseminating knowledge, it demonstrated the profound impact of community solidarity. Working alongside a passionate group of dedicated individuals from various ethnicities, I quickly learned that our shared goal of progress not only united us, but also allowed us to transcend the confines of our individual biases and preconceived notions. As we gathered around a weathered community center table, the air buzzed with excitement and purpose. We came together to plan our lessons and outreach strategies, driven by an unspoken understanding that the future we sought to build would only thrive on a foundation of mutual respect and collaboration. Each person's perspective became crucial in shaping our approach, with dialogues that oscillated between the practical and the profound, mirroring the multifaceted realities we aim to address. In the heat of brainstorming sessions, our discussions often ventured into the personal, revealing vulnerabilities and shared experiences that created a tapestry of communal strength. In every planning session, each struggle was not only validated, we critically acknowledged the barriers imposed by systemic inequality, yet we also fervently focused on tangible solutions. Every triumph, no matter how small, from securing our first volunteer to successfully engaging a local business for support, was celebrated as a testament to our collective resilience and an indicator of our potential for greater impact. It served as living proof that our society, while steeped in a history of prejudice, could indeed evolve toward a more just future. Through laughter and tears, we forged bonds that transformed strangers into allies, laying the groundwork for long-lasting solidarity. Through years of personal and professional setbacks, the persistent message echoing in my mind was one of hope. To overcome prejudice, one must first conquer the internalized stereotypes imposed by society. I began to reflect on my self-worth and my role in either perpetuating bias or actively challenging it. Immersing myself in literature, addressing the nuances of race, listening to podcasts featuring voices from diverse backgrounds, and attending anti-racism workshops became integral to my personal development, reinforcing the belief that true equality starts with understanding and accepting oneself and others beyond the superficiality of skin color. As months turned into years, I found myself engaging more actively within my community. I joined local advocacy groups that sought to dismantle the systemic barriers that marginalized voices face daily. Through organizing events and participating in discussions, I began to realize the power of collective action. Each meeting revealed to me a tapestry of stories rich with resilience, love, and a shared desire for change. It was a testament to the fact that when people unite with a common purpose, they can affect profound changes in their surroundings. Encouraged by these experiences, I also took on the challenge of sharing my journey through writing. I started a blog dedicated to exploring themes of identity and prejudice, weaving in my personal anecdotes alongside statistics and historical context. The act of articulating my thoughts became cathartic, and the feedback from readers who resonated with my stories fueled my commitment even further. I realized that vulnerability could be a source of strength, and by opening up, I created space for others to do the same. In the midst of this transformation, my relationships deepened. I found friends who challenged my perspectives and expanded my understanding of the world's complexities. Conversations once dominated by ignorance shifted towards empathy and respect, revealing the profound impact that dialogue could have. Together, we celebrated our differences while fighting for common ground, reminding each other that our shared humanity transcends any societal divisions. However, the road was fraught with challenges. There were moments of doubt when I questioned if my efforts were making any tangible difference at all. I encountered resistance, especially from those clinging to outdated beliefs. Yet I reminded myself that change is often met with opposition, and perseverance is essential. Each setback became a lesson, teaching me that resilience is forged in the fires of discomfort, and that confronting my own biases was at times more challenging than addressing those of others. As I continued this journey, I developed a commitment to mentorship, realizing that personal growth is most impactful when shared. I began volunteering at local schools, facilitating discussions on diversity and inclusion among young students. The curiosity and openness of children inspired me, and I saw firsthand how early exposure to these concepts could shape their understanding of the world. It ignited a sense of responsibility within me. If these young minds could grasp the significance of acceptance and empathy, they would carry these values forth into the future. Thus, the narrative of my life evolved, no longer isolated merely around overcoming prejudice, but now encapsulating the fostering of a culture filled with love and understanding. With every story shared, every mind opened, I contributed to a transformative process that has proven to be larger than myself. Together, we were creating ripples of change, illustrating that the journey toward equality is not solely a personal endeavor, but an expansive collective movement spanning generations. One defining moment in my journey came during a public speaking engagement at a prominent university. I was invited to share my personal experiences with racial bias, not as a victim, but as a resilient individual who had overcome unimaginable challenges. Standing on that stage with an audience of middle-class urban Americans who themselves were grappling with their own biases, I felt an immense responsibility. I recounted the isolation I felt at school, the condescension in the workplace, and the isolation in a society that claimed to celebrate diversity. But I also spoke of moments of beauty, the supportive nod from a stranger on a difficult day, the unanticipated camaraderie at community events, and the transformative power of education. It was a raw, honest account of the struggles I faced and the hope that eventually illuminated my path. As the words flowed from my mouth, I noticed the audience's eyes widen and their expressions soften. It became clear that sharing these experiences was more than just an act of personal catharsis. It offered an opportunity to spark conversations often left untouched. I urged them to lean into discomfort, acknowledge the biases simmering beneath the surface, and become champions of change within their communities. After the speech, a young woman approached me, tears in her eyes. She shared her own experience with feeling marginalized, despite the privileges she had been afforded. It was in that moment I realized that bridging our different narratives was crucial for healing. I began to hold workshops where we could collectively process these feelings, creating a safe space where vulnerability was met with empathy. Each session was filled with passionate discussions, laughter, and at times, uncomfortable silences that beckoned introspection. Moreover, I learned the importance of storytelling not only from my perspective, but from others as well. I invited members from various backgrounds, immigrants, LGBTQ+ individuals, and those with disabilities, to join our circle and share their stories. The tapestry woven from these voices was rich and diverse, and it resonated deeply within the community. It was clear that understanding would only deepen when we listened to each other's journeys. Through this process, we began organizing community outreach programs, focusing on youth education and empowerment. We partnered with local schools to implement curricula that emphasized inclusivity, teaching students about different cultural experiences and the importance of allyship. The change was gradual, yet palpable. Students began to engage with one another, transcending preconceived notions of us versus them. Asiri were near Warnimorm. Yet our journey faced challenges. Resistance emerged from various corners, with some dismissing our narrative as overly sentimental or politically correct. However, I remain steadfast in my belief that understanding serves as a powerful antidote to prejudice. Each setback only fueled my passion further. I embraced a mentorship role, actively working with young leaders to cultivate their voices, allowing them to shine in spaces long dominated by a single narrative. Reflecting on my initial experience at the university, I now see it as a pivotal point that set the course for my personal mission. What began as a speaking engagement evolved into a movement, one that continuously seeks to eradicate bias and foster understanding through shared stories. I often remind myself and others that everyone's story matters. And in the quest for a more empathetic world, it is these stories that hold the power to transform lives. The response to my speech was immediate and overwhelming. Letters poured in from those who identified with my experiences, individuals who had felt marginalized and misunderstood. Many spoke of their own efforts to break free from the grips of a society tethered to outdated notions of race and identity. In these letters, I saw echoes of my past, a past where isolation was common, but where the human spirit always yearned for acceptance and change. They spoke, too, of the courage it took to face discrimination head-on and the transformative power of standing up for oneself in an unjust system. As I read through the myriad of stories, my resolve deepened. Each letter was a testament to resilience, underscoring a collective desire for empowerment and change. I knew I had to do more than just listen. Action was essential. With the support of some of the most passionate individuals from these letters, I began to envision a series of community workshops. The purpose was not solely therapeutic, but to cultivate a space where individuals could share their stories, learn from one another, and build solidarity. For weeks we gathered, transforming local community centers into vibrant hubs of inspiration. Diverse backgrounds lent rich perspectives to the discussions, highlighting the multifaceted nature of our struggles and the common threads that wove us together. We explored topics ranging from microaggressions to systemic inequality, always emphasizing the importance of dialogue and understanding. During these sessions, I was amazed by the creative expressions that emerged. Poetry, art, and music became powerful tools for articulating pain and hope. One participant, an aspiring musician, wrote a soulful song about her journey through discrimination. And by the end of our workshops, we organized a community showcase that attracted dozens of attendees. This celebration of talent and resilience echoed throughout the neighborhood, igniting conversations that had long been suppressed. As the months went by, I noticed a shift in our community. People who once felt invisible became vocal advocates. Unearthed talent flourished, and the energy was palpable. We began to form alliances with local organizations, leveraging our newfound momentum to push for policy changes that reflected our values and needs. It was no longer just about sharing our stories. We were demanding that they be heard on larger platforms. Through advocacy campaigns and community partnerships, we took our vision beyond the confines of our local sphere. Soon, we were invited to speak at larger events, and our workshops garnered attention from media outlets. The response was not without challenges, of course. Pushback came from those who resisted change. Yet the strength that had been built amongst us fortified our determination. Finally, we realized that our journey was not just about altering perceptions in our immediate environment, but contributing to a broader movement toward inclusivity and understanding. Our stories in United Front were the seeds of a growing community that held the potential to inspire movements elsewhere. What began as a simple act of sharing had transformed into a flowering tapestry of resilience, advocacy, and change, united by the powerful notion that when marginalized voices join together, they can create ripples of hope that reach far beyond their origins. As we looked around at the faces of our diverse group, it became clear that each individual brought a unique story, rich with experiences that added depth to our collective mission. The art of storytelling had become a bridge, connecting us not only to each other, but to a wider array of allies who shared our vision for a more equitable world. Workshops emerged from our gatherings, where we learned not just to tell our stories, but to listen deeply to the narratives of others, fostering empathy and creating safe spaces for dialogue. Our initiatives started to attract attention. Community leaders, educators, and even local businesses began to take note of our work. They saw the value in our discussions and the impact of the actions we were taking. Grants were offered and partnerships were formed, allowing us to expand our reach and amplify our messages through various mediums, from social media campaigns to public art installations. The once quiet conversations began to echo in town halls and community boards, resonating with those who felt unheard. Yet with growth came challenges. Disagreement and misunderstanding emerged from those unaccustomed to our movement. Some questioned the urgency of change, while others felt threatened by our calls for equity. At first, these moments caused discomfort within our group, leading to heated debates about how to navigate the complexities of advocacy without alienating potential supporters. However, these disputes turned out to be opportunities for learning. Through open conversation, we refined our message and illustrated the importance of allyship and intersectionality in our ongoing efforts. Every gathering was an opportunity for aspiring writers, artists, and speakers to showcase their talents, weaving their individual artistry into the larger narrative of our journey. Our collective actions soon began to inspire nearby districts, sparking initiatives in neighboring towns that mirrored our own. The sense of solidarity spread like wildfire, each new group adding its unique flavor to the dialogue, further enriching the tapestry we had begun to weave. We organized joint events, reinforcing connections, sharing resources, and celebrating victories together, no matter how small. As we witnessed this phenomenon unfold, we understood that this was just the beginning, an expansive movement in the making, rooted deeply in love, compassion, and determination to build a just world for all. Thus, with steely resolve, we pressed on, knowing that together we would continue to sow the seeds of change, nurturing a flourishing garden of inclusivity and understanding that would grow endlessly beyond our limits. As we organized meetings and workshops, each gathering became a pulsating hub of creativity and dialogue. Voices that had once been silenced began to surface, weaving narratives filled with hope and determination. We crafted strategies that were not only grounded in our individual experiences, but also reflected our shared vision for a brighter future. With every poster we designed, every petition we signed, and every door we knocked on, we solidified our commitment to fostering a culture of empowerment that would bridge divides and inspire collaboration across diverse communities. The obstacles we faced were many. Skepticism lingered in the air like a stubborn fog, but it served only to fuel our ambition. We learned to convert doubt into action, transforming resistance into resilience. With workshops that focused on the art of storytelling, we encouraged individuals to step into their power, reclaiming their voices and narrating their truths. Community members began to realize their potential, not just as figures in the background, but as catalysts for change. Collaboration became our guiding principle, as we sought not to merely stand united, but to uplift every individual within the collective. One particularly impactful initiative was the Voices Unheard campaign, designed to highlight the stories of marginalized groups. Through multimedia presentations and dialogues, we created a space where diversity was celebrated and every narrative honored. This campaign illuminated the gaps that still needed bridging and energized our resolve to tackle systemic inequities. The community's reactions were overwhelmingly positive as people began to share experiences that sparked deep conversations and forged new connections. As we moved forward, the rhythm of our collective heartbeat became an anthem for change. New leaders emerged from within our ranks, individuals who embodied the spirit of activism and were determined to carry the torch forward. We equipped them with tools and resources, ensuring that our efforts would not only resonate in the present, but would carry on into the future like ripples in a vast ocean. In moments of reflection, we realized that our journey was about more than just achieving tangible outcomes. It was about building a legacy and nurturing a culture that values inclusivity and understanding. We imagined future generations looking back at our work, inspired to craft their unique narratives, weaving their aspirations into the fabric of society. With every step taken, we remained acutely aware that change is a continuous journey, a path paved not just with personal victories, but with the triumphs of others along the way. And so, as the sun sets on our current endeavors, we stand ready to embrace the challenges that lie ahead. With unwavering resolve, we continue to cultivate hope, ready to hand over the baton to those who will come after us, confident that together we can create a world where every voice is heard and valued. The garden we have tended will thrive, providing a sanctuary for all who seek to explore and express their truths in a more inclusive society. As I continued to navigate my modern life, every day presented opportunities to redefine the narrative of race in America. I entered into conversations with colleagues who hadn't faced the same relentless onslaught of bias. Over coffee breaks and during late-night meetings, I discovered moments of genuine connection where we could openly discuss our experiences and the subtle yet pervasive nature of prejudice. I began to realize that for many middle-class urban Americans, the struggle was not only against overt acts of racism, but also against the quiet daily reminders that they were perceived as other. These conversations offered hope, showcasing a growing willingness to confront uncomfortable truths and foster understanding, even among those who had historically been part of the establishment that perpetuated these inequities. As these discussions unfolded, I realized the importance of sharing personal narratives, as they were powerful tools that could bridge the gap between our vastly different backgrounds. Each story added a layer of complexity to our understanding of race, illustrating how our lived experiences shaped our perceptions and shaped the world around us. I often found myself reflecting on my childhood, the subtle lessons learned from my family about navigating a society that rarely acknowledged our reality. During these exchanges, one colleague, Maria, relayed her own experiences growing up in an immigrant family, detailing the microaggressions she faced in school and at work. Her resilience struck a chord with me, highlighting not just the challenges, but also the strength that can arise from adversity. We began to explore ways in which we could use our positions to advocate for changes within our company policy and culture. Together, we considered forming a diversity and inclusion task force, aiming to create a platform that could amplify marginalized voices within our workplace. Yet the journey wasn't without its difficulties. Resistance occasionally emerged, with some colleagues uncomfortable confronting their own biases or the realities of systemic injustice. We pushed forward, recognizing that change is often uncomfortable but necessary. During a particularly heated meeting, another colleague, James, voiced his discomfort with the topic. Instead of shying away, we embraced the moment, inviting him to share his perspective while gently guiding the conversation back to the goal of understanding and growth. This willingness to engage in dialogue, sometimes contentious, laid the groundwork for deeper connections. Over time, our small gathering of advocates grew. What started as sporadic coffee breaks evolved into organized workshops, where we invited speakers and facilitators to guide us in discussions about race, privilege, and allyship. We began to witness gradual shifts, with more people stepping forward to acknowledge their own journeys of discovery. The broader environment at work began transforming as well, with policies gradually being reevaluated and employee training programs introduced that focused on unconscious bias and inclusivity. With each step, I felt a renewed sense of purpose, realizing that while individual stories were significant, the collective narrative we were weaving had the power to inspire change at a larger scale. I began to envision a future where new leaders would emerge, people who could speak candidly about their experiences and work towards dismantling the entrenched prejudices that plagued our society. The path ahead was long and fraught with challenges, but with every conversation, every workshop, we steadily moved closer to a narrative where diversity was celebrated and inequities actively dismantled, marking a hopeful shift in the fabric of our everyday lives. My personal relationships evolved in parallel with my efforts to make sense of race and identity. I found that among my closest friends, irrespective of their racial backgrounds, empathy bridged divides that history had tried so desperately to widen. I recall spending an afternoon with Liam, a white friend from college who had at one point shared his own discomfort with discussing race. However, as we progressed beyond surface-level interactions, he revealed a deep-seated belief in equality, one that was sometimes overshadowed by the silent pressures of conformity. Our dialogue was unfiltered and painful at times, yet it was exactly these moments of vulnerability that allowed both of us to grow. In our discussions, I learned that prejudice can be unlearned, and that hearts hardened by societal narratives can, with sincere effort, break open to reveal a capacity for profound compassion. Our conversations blossomed further as we began to engage with literature and art that focused on race and identity. I suggested we read works by authors of various backgrounds, from Toni Morrison to Chimamanda Ngozi Adichie, whose powerful narratives compelled us to confront our own biases. These discussions around the text brought new dimensions to our friendship, facilitating a space where we could explore discomfort openly. Each chapter we dissected was not just a lesson in history, but a mirror reflecting our own experiences and societal roles. Liam, who once felt paralyzed by fear of saying the wrong thing, slowly became a passionate advocate for inclusion, even initiating conversations in our larger friend circle about privilege and responsibility. One evening, after a particularly spirited debate over the portrayal of racial injustices in contemporary media, we decided to attend a local forum on racial equity. It was there that I encountered a diverse group of individuals committed to change, each sharing their stories with a raw honesty that reverberated through the room. I saw him in conversation with a young woman of Latina descent. Their laughter that floated above the heavier discussions illustrated the beauty of allyship formed through shared experiences. It struck me then how these connections, nurtured through honesty and humility, could ignite a ripple effect beyond our immediate circle. As time passed, I became acutely aware of how the evolution of my personal relationships paralleled my journey toward understanding societal complexities. The more I engaged with different perspectives, the more I noticed patterns of resilience and resistance among my friends, which deepened my appreciation for each eclectic narrative. These relationships became a tapestry woven with threads of mutual respect, shared struggles, and collective hopes for a more equitable world. Yet with each revelation came an invitation for action. I began volunteering with organizations focused on youth mentorship in underprivileged communities, where I could share my experiences and listen to the next generation's dreams and aspirations. Liam often joined me, eager to apply his growing understanding of empathy in action. Through this involvement, we witnessed firsthand the transformations that took place when barriers of misunderstanding were dismantled by genuine connection, a cycle of understanding that perpetuated itself. Reflecting on it all, I realized that the journey through race and identity is not linear. It is a mosaic of experiences that call upon us to remain committed to growth and learning. Each conversation, each experience shared, paves the way for deeper understanding and acceptance, not just between friends, but within the wider community. As I navigated through this evolving landscape, I cultivated a steadfast belief that our stories, when shared openly, have the power to unite us in our shared humanity, making the world a little less daunting and a bit more compassionate. As I steeped myself further into these communities, it became clear that activism was not merely a series of events or protests, it emerged as a way of life. Each week introduced new challenges, whether it involved organizing rallies, facilitating workshops, or simply listening to the grievances of those who felt unheard. I grasped the power of dialogue, realizing that sharing our experiences could weave stronger bonds than any institutional policy. In these moments, I discovered a version of myself that thrived on collective action, where my voice was amplified by the harmony of many. As I immersed myself deeper into these communities, I began to realize that activism was not just a series of events or protests, it was a way of life. Each week brought new challenges, whether it was organizing rallies, facilitating workshops, or simply listening to the grievances of those who felt unheard. I learned the power of dialogue and how sharing our experiences could create bonds stronger than any institutional policy. In these moments, I discovered a version of myself that thrived on collective action, where my voice was amplified by the harmony of many. Inspired by these connections, I decided to pursue formal education in social work. I believed that equipping myself with knowledge would enable me to advocate more effectively for those who felt marginalized. My academic journey was filled with rigorous debates and enlightening courses that forced me to confront uncomfortable truths about systemic inequalities. I grappled with theories that explained the socio-economic barriers that people face daily and felt a sense of urgency to apply this knowledge in practical settings. Through internships and fieldwork, I had the privilege of collaborating with experienced activists and seasoned professionals. I shadowed community organizers who tirelessly worked at the grassroots level, developing initiatives that addressed food insecurity, housing rights, and healthcare access. Their dedication fueled my own ambitions and illustrated the importance of intersectionality in activism. I witnessed how issues of race, class, gender, and sexuality intertwined, creating unique experiences of oppression and resilience. As I continued my journey, I became increasingly aware of the local and national policies that influence the landscape of social justice. I attended town hall meetings and engaged with local representatives, pushing for transparency and accountability in decisions that directly impacted our communities. These experiences taught me that change often begins at the local level, where each voice, including my own, can contribute to a larger movement for equality. The years passed, and as my understanding deepened, I recognized that activism had evolved. It was no longer just about protest. It was about building infrastructures of support within our communities. I began to focus on creating safe spaces for dialogue and healing, where individuals could come together to share their stories and strategies for resilience. Together, we forged networks that connected various resources, like mental health services and educational programs, aiming to empower individuals to reclaim their narratives. Reflecting on my past, I understood that the seeds of change were often planted in the most unexpected places. The power of storytelling, the strength of community, and the unwavering spirit of solidarity became the pillars of my activism. And so I continued forward, guided by the belief that while the road to justice is long and winding, it is one that can lead to profound transformation if navigated with courage, compassion, and an unwavering resolve to uplift one another. In one particular campaign aimed at reforming local law enforcement policies, I witnessed firsthand the intersection of race, power, and fear. The city council meeting was packed. Voices of dissent and hope mingled in a heavy atmosphere thick with anticipation. I sat in the back of the room, reflecting on the countless times I had been judged by the color of my skin rather than by the content of my character. When I finally stood to speak, my voice trembled initially, but grew steadier as I recounted personal anecdotes of interactions with those in authority, a blend of unfair assumptions and moments of unexpected kindness. I spoke about the need for change not just in policy, but in attitude. That real transformation had to start within each individual, challenging the societal predisposition to see race as a reason for fear or exclusion. My words were met with nods of understanding, and for a brief, hopeful moment, it felt as if our collective voices were harmonizing into a call for a fairer, more inclusive society. I engaged in artistic pursuits such as writing, music, and community theater as ways to express the sorrows and joys of my experience. As I delved deeper into my artistic endeavors, I discovered the transformative power of collaboration. I began to host workshops in my community, inviting individuals from different backgrounds to share their stories and experiences. Each session unfolded like an intricate tapestry, woven with threads of laughter, pain, and understanding. These gatherings became sacred spaces where vulnerability was met with empathy, forging connections that transcended race and socioeconomic barriers. I witnessed firsthand how art could dismantle the preconceived notions that often hold us captive. One memorable workshop led to a community theater production that addressed the intricacies of identity and belonging. The excitement in the air was palpable as diverse voices blended harmoniously, telling what had previously been silenced. Each rehearsal was a testament to our growing camaraderie as we navigated the struggles and triumphs of our characters, mirroring our realities. The final performance resonated deeply with the audience, igniting discussions about racial prejudice and social justice that extended beyond the theater. This collective storytelling not only brought awareness, but also inspired numerous attendees to reflect on their roles in fostering inclusivity within their own communities. Emboldened by this success, I expanded my outreach, partnering with local schools to introduce creative writing programs focused on the significance of racial diversity and acceptance. Young minds blossomed as they penned their thoughts, unearthing feelings they didn't know they had. The joy and relief in their eyes when they recognized their own narratives were invaluable, affirming my belief that art could illuminate pathways to understanding. I realized that education, intertwined with creativity, could empower the next generation to advocate for change. This journey was not without its challenges, however. There were moments of backlash and misunderstanding, reminding me of the deep-rooted issues that still permeated our society. Yet each setback fueled my passion, compelling me to persist. I found solace in the words of fellow artists and activists who reminded me that change is a gradual process, a series of ripples that, when combined, can transform into a powerful wave. I embraced the idea that every story matters, and I made it my mission to amplify marginalized voices, crafting a narrative that celebrates diversity and inclusion. Through this work, I have not only unearthed my own strength, but have become a part of a larger movement. A movement that champions the beauty of our differences while recognizing our shared humanity. I stand firmly in the belief that art, in any form, is a catalyst for change, one that starts with the individual and ripples outward, challenging the status quo and inspiring a brighter future. One crisp autumn evening, I found myself sitting on the stoop of my modest apartment building, gazing at the fading light as the city buzzed with life. In that quiet moment, I contemplated the journey that had defined my existence, the painful encounters with prejudice, the quiet victories of overcoming internalized bias, and the empowering moments of connection that reminded me I was not alone. I realized then that my story was emblematic of many others whose voices had long been stifled by societal norms. I was not simply recounting my struggles. I was voicing a collective dream shared by countless African Americans and other marginalized groups. A dream of a future where the archaic markers of race would no longer dictate one's destiny. I began to see a transformative shift in the narrative surrounding race in America. Through grassroots efforts, community dialogue, and personal introspection, many individuals started to challenge their own prejudices. In local forums and online platforms, middle-class urban Americans, once complacent or oblivious to their inherent biases, started to share their journeys of awakening. They recounted moments where a casual conversation opened their eyes to the realities of racial injustice. These exchanges were a beacon of progress, a sign that even in a society entrenched in discriminatory practices, there was space for change. My journey was not devoid of setbacks. There were times when the weight of historical prejudice seemed too heavy to bear, when the systemic inequities were so pervasive that hope appeared to be a distant memory. I vividly recall a particularly challenging period when, despite my efforts in the workplace, I was passed over for a promotion in favor of someone from a background that, demographically, should have been less favored by entrenched networks. The decision stung deeply and forced me to confront the painful reality that the battle against racial bias was far from over. However, in the darkness of disappointment, I found a renewed purpose. I channeled my frustrations into mentorship, guiding young African Americans seeking to navigate the complex landscape of professional life. I encouraged them to view setbacks not as reflections of their worth, but as challenges to be overcome through perseverance, skill, and the unwavering belief in their intrinsic value. Overcoming prejudice, I learned, was a multifaceted journey, one that required the courage to question societal norms, the empathy to understand the experiences of others, and the conviction to transform that understanding into action. My personal evolution was mirrored by a broader movement, a collective awakening among many who had long been marginalized and silenced. In community centers, debate halls, and online networks, people were increasingly demanding accountability from institutions that had turned a blind eye to injustice. We were no longer content to let history justify discrimination. We were actively writing a new chapter, one where the measure of one's character was the true yardstick of worth. As we gathered momentum, the dialogue shifted from mere awareness to actionable change. Grassroots movements sprang up, fostering alliances across diverse communities. Voices previously unheard began to resonate, sharing their stories and forging connections that transcended age, race, and socioeconomic status. Workshops and seminars transformed into safe spaces for dialogue, allowing individuals to express their fears and aspirations, while educators at every level began integrating perspectives on social justice into their curriculum. As a result, the youth of today were awakening to the realities of inequality, empowered by knowledge and equipped with the tools to confront and dismantle systemic barriers. Yet our journey was not without its challenges. There were factions resistant to this evolution, clinging to outdated ideologies and alarmed by the changing narratives that threatened their long-standing privileges. They unleashed waves of pushback, utilizing social media to disseminate misinformation and cultivate division. In response, we fortified our resolve, recognizing that resilience was equally as crucial as empathy. Mobilizing through organized protests, art, and innovative campaigns, we utilized every means available to educate and persuade those still trapped in their biases. Knowledge became our greatest weapon, allowing us to counter arguments with facts and draw clearer distinctions between truth and fabricated fear. With each conversation, each presentation, we began to see glimmers of hope. Some individuals who had initially resisted began to reach out, seeking understanding and a place in the movement. Introspection revealed cracks in their defenses. They shared their own narratives of vulnerability, guilt, or confusion. It became apparent that while prejudice often stemmed from ignorance, the potential for growth existed in all of us. By extending our hands to the reluctant, we cultivated a more inclusive environment, one where transformation was seen not just as a collective necessity, but as an individual journey. Looking forward, I recognize that overcoming prejudice was not a destination, but an ongoing process. Our work was far from complete, as issues embedded within the fabric of society threaded through systems of education, employment, and governance. We understood that achieving equality required sustained advocacy and vigilance. As we committed ourselves to this enduring fight, we also embraced the joy found in our connections and the beauty of our differences, knowing that diversity was not a barrier, but the very foundation of our collective strength. In this tapestry of humanity, each thread plays a vital role, and we took pride in weaving a future that honors every story, every struggle, and every triumph. In reflecting on this journey, I've learned that empathy is the antidote to prejudice. Conversations with people from diverse backgrounds revealed that our fundamental experiences of love, loss, joy, and fear are indeed universal. The barriers constructed by race often emerge as superficial constructs that fade in the light of honest dialogue. Many who unwittingly harbored prejudices are victims of a legacy that normalized exclusion. When given the opportunity to see beyond their inherited biases, they too can embrace the richness of diversity, recognizing that our differences ultimately strengthen rather than weaken us. Reflecting on my journey, from a young boy overwhelmed by the weight of discrimination to a man who stands as a testament to resilience, I am reminded that the fight against prejudice is ongoing. It is a battle fought not only in public arenas, but also within the quiet recesses of our minds. Each step forward, no matter how small, is a victory. What began as isolated acts of defiance grew into a tapestry of collective resistance, a culmination of efforts by individuals who refuse to be defined by the stereotypes imposed upon them. Today, as I continue to lead discussions, mentor aspiring young professionals, and contribute to the rich tapestry of activism in our urban centers, I hold tightly to the belief that the future can be different, that we can build a society where judgment is based on character and contribution, rather than on the superficial markers of race. I have seen the transformative potential of community, how shared experiences and mutual understanding can dismantle walls built by fear and ignorance. It is this potential that fuels my daily commitment to challenging biases and creating spaces where every voice is not only heard, but celebrated. It is important to acknowledge that my story is just one thread in a vast, intricate fabric woven from countless experiences. Each narrative adds depth and richness to our understanding of the complex interplay between identity and societal expectations. Among middle-class urban Americans, there exists a multitude of untold tales filled with both pain and redemption, linked by a common struggle with the inherited legacy of racial discrimination. These stories serve as a crucial reminder that prejudice is not merely a relic of a bygone era, but rather an immediate and present-day challenge, demanding our collective accountability, open hearts, and courageous dialogue. In every quiet protest that ripples through our neighborhoods, every spirited debate in community halls, and every small act of kindness that transcends racial boundaries, the seeds of change are sown. These moments, often overlooked, are the catalysts for larger transformations, illustrating that we are not just passive recipients of history, but active participants in shaping a more equitable future. In sharing my story, my greatest hope is to inspire others to look beyond the simplistic labels that have been forcibly imposed upon us by history. Throughout the ages, societies have often relied on these reductive classifications to maintain divisions, but it's crucial that we dismantle these barriers. I want individuals to understand that while discrimination can leave deep scars, it also possesses the transformative power to galvanize us into action and ignite a movement towards compassion. Each anecdote of prejudice serves as a fateful reminder of our shared humanity, urging us to rise against the tides of inequality. When we challenge these outdated narratives, we do more than simply protest injustice. We reimagine the very foundation of our society. We become architects of a future where empathy, understanding, and mutual respect prevail over prejudice and fear. In embracing our stories, we craft a richer tapestry of human experience that highlights our interconnectedness and potential for growth, inviting future generations to build upon an evolving legacy of shared strength and solidarity. There are days when I am profoundly reminded of the stark reality of discrimination, moments that crystallize the ongoing struggle for understanding and acceptance. A simple act of kindness, a warm smile offered to a stranger or a helping hand extended to someone in need, can transform into an unexpected opportunity for genuine dialogue. A chance encounter on a bustling street where a shared smile bridges a gap that, in our minds, once seemed unassailable. It is in these fleeting interactions, ephemeral yet impactful, that the seeds of reconciliation and change are quietly sown. These seemingly minor moments are not insignificant. They are the building blocks of a broader movement toward understanding. They remind us that the power to overcome societal rifts doesn't lie solely in grand gestures or sweeping reforms, but rather in the consistent, everyday choices we make to recognize and honor one another's humanity. Each decision to see and treat each other as human beings first, acknowledging that every individual's life story is intricately woven with triumphs and trials, hope and heartache, serves as a gentle reminder that empathy and connection are vital for healing. Through these everyday acts, we create an atmosphere where dialogue can flourish and where the collective dream of a more inclusive society can begin to take root. My journey also led me to revisiting my roots, the rich cultural heritage passed down by generations who fought battles long before my time. As I delved into the vibrant tapestry of my ancestry, I discovered not only stories of triumph and perseverance, but also the profound lessons embedded in their struggles. Each tale resonated within me, serving as a reminder of the human spirit's capacity to endure and rise against adversity. I found that reconnecting with my history not only ignited a sense of pride, but also instilled a deep determination to honor those who laid the groundwork for the freedoms I now cherish. Immersing myself in the narratives of my ancestors, stories filled with courage, sacrifice, and unwavering hope, helped me recognize that our legacies are alive, carried forward by the values and beliefs we uphold. I learned of the communal bonds that strengthened my lineage, of how resilience flourished not just in solitary pursuits, but through acts of solidarity and support. It became evident to me that the fight for equality is cyclical, a continuum where each generation must rise to confront its own set of challenges while honoring the sacrifices of those who came before. This understanding was both empowering and humbling. It also urged me to explore how I could contribute to the ongoing quest for justice and equity, fostering a brighter future for the generations to come. As I delved deeper into the narratives, I uncovered tales of community rallies and grassroots movements, where voices united in harmony challenged the status quo and demanded justice. Each story painted a vivid picture of determination, illustrating how small acts of defiance often sparked monumental changes. These were not just tales from the past, they were reminders that advocacy is a living force, one that thrives on the passion and commitment of individuals willing to stand up for what is right. I realized that every petition signed, every demonstration attended, and every dialogue initiated contributes to a profound legacy of activism. Moreover, the intersectionality of our struggles became increasingly apparent. I recognized that the fight for equality transcends race, gender, and socioeconomic status, intertwining with issues of environmental justice, health disparities, and educational equity. This holistic view deepened my resolve to advocate not for a singular cause, but for a mosaic of movements, each deserving acknowledgement and support. By understanding this complexity, I engaged with diverse groups, amplifying voices that might otherwise go unheard, and forging alliances to cement a united front. In my quest, I also sought wisdom from contemporary figures who embody the spirit of activism. Their stories inspired me. They faced their adversities with courage, often at great personal risk. Learning about their strategic approaches to tackling injustice fueled my own desire to stand in solidarity, urging me to harness my skills for a greater purpose. I began volunteering with local organizations, participating in initiatives that uplift marginalized voices, recognizing that collaboration can sometimes yield more transformative results than solitary efforts. These experiences not only expanded my knowledge but also fortified my identity as an advocate. I grew more aware of the responsibilities that came with this role, the importance of listening intently, of learning continually, and of acting with empathy and respect for those I aim to support. Every interaction became a lesson, every challenge an opportunity to grow. I understood that lasting change demands patience and perseverance, and that the road ahead may be fraught with setbacks, yet it is essential to keep pressing forward, fueled by the legacies that inspire us. Ultimately, embracing this journey has taught me that the fight for justice is not a solitary endeavor, but a collaborative tapestry woven from the efforts of many. This personal odyssey, a complex tapestry woven from the threads of sorrow, hope, struggle, and ultimately renewal, continues to profoundly shape my worldview and inform my interactions with others. It is a journey marked not only by the trials I have faced, but also by the resilience I have discovered within myself and the inspiration I find in the stories of countless others. Every time I encounter a young person who feels diminished or marginalized by society's limiting labels, I see in them a poignant reflection of my own past vulnerabilities and struggles. This recognition fuels a deep sense of empathy within me. I seize that moment not as an opportunity to preach from a pedestal, but as a chance to engage in a heartfelt dialogue, sharing the invaluable lesson that the scars of discrimination, while deep and painful, are not the final chapter of our stories. Instead, they serve as powerful reminders of battles endured and the transformative experiences that shape us. They can become catalysts for a future built on the unyielding commitment to equality, inspiring others to rise above their circumstances and embrace the strength that resides within them. Through these exchanges, I hope to plant seeds of hope and resilience, nurturing a spirit of solidarity that echoes through generations to come. Through education, open dialogue, and an unwavering courage to challenge entrenched institutional norms, we find ourselves gradually breaking free from the confines of our prejudiced past. Initiatives that promote cross-cultural understanding are not merely academic exercises. They function as lifelines, fostering empathy and solidarity within our diverse communities. This journey requires that we listen deeply to one another's stories and experiences, allowing them to shape our perceptions and inform our actions, creating a ripple effect of understanding. Through education, open dialogue, and the unwavering courage to challenge entrenched institutional norms, we find ourselves gradually breaking free from the confines of our prejudiced past. Initiatives that promote cross-cultural understanding are not merely academic exercises. They are lifelines that foster empathy and solidarity among us. This journey requires that we listen deeply to one another's stories and experiences, allowing them to shape our perceptions and inform our actions. The vision we aspire to is far from utopian. It is deeply rooted in the reality of our shared humanity and the belief that change begins with us. It is grounded in the collective, often small yet powerful actions of ordinary people who have courageously chosen love over fear, inclusion over separation, and progress over stagnation. Every act of kindness, every moment of understanding contributes to the larger narrative of our shared advancement. They illuminate the path toward a future where equity and justice reign, reminding us that together we can indeed shape a brighter tomorrow. As I close this chapter of my story, I do so acknowledging that the quest to overcome racial bias is a continuum. It is an evolving narrative that every day demands our attention, empathy, and relentless drive to transform society from within. I remain committed to this journey, not solely because it defines my own life, but because it speaks to the fundamental truth that every person, no matter their background, deserves the chance to live without the shadows of prejudice. My life is proof that while the scars of racism may run deep, they can be healed through understanding, action, and unwavering solidarity. Today I stand as a testament not only to the profound struggles inherent in confronting racism in modern America, but also to the boundless potential we possess for transformative change. I speak as someone who has grappled with the harsh realities of discrimination, experiencing firsthand the visceral pain of not being accepted based upon the color of my skin, and witnessing the silent struggles of those around me. From these experiences, I have emerged not only resilient, but determined to ignite a flame of hope and inspiration, envisioning a future where every individual is cherished for their unique essence and valued equally in society. This is more than just a personal narrative. It is a call to action that resonates deeply with every middle-class urban American who has felt the weight of societal judgment and the pressing need for progress. In this pivotal moment, let us unite, breaking down the barriers that divide us in the pursuit of genuine equality. It is essential that we recognize our shared humanity, acknowledging the diverse tapestry that makes up our communities. Let every conversation be a step, however small, towards dismantling the remnants of outdated prejudice, fostering a culture of understanding, respect, and solidarity. My journey continues as I walk these city streets, each step resonating with the echoes of history and the promise of a better tomorrow. The pavement beneath my feet tells a story of resilience and hope, where whispers of countless lives intersect in the vibrant pulse of urban life. I am acutely aware that there will always be challenges, moments when injustice rears its head and the specter of division looms large, rendering the fight seem insurmountable. Yet amid the shadows of adversity, I find strength in the countless voices that have risen before me, reminding me that within each of us lies the power to transform pain into purpose and despair into action. Every day presents an opportunity to confront the barriers that divide us and to convert individual struggles into collective progress. Each act of kindness becomes a beacon of hope, illuminating the path for others to follow. Engaging in honest conversations opens doors to understanding, breaking down the silos that separate our experiences. Every small victory against prejudice, whether it be in the form of standing up for a friend or advocating for systemic change, serves as a reinforcement of our shared humanity. It is a mosaic of efforts. Each piece, though seemingly insignificant, contributes to a larger narrative of compassion and kinship that binds us together. In retrospect, I understand that confronting racial injustice was never about casting blame on a single group or institution. It was always about reclaiming the dignity inherent to every human life. The prejudice I once internalized has been replaced by the knowledge that self-worth cannot be dictated by the color of one's skin. It is defined by our actions, our contributions to our communities, and our commitment to ensuring that future generations inherit a society where acceptance triumphs over fear. To those who have known the sting of unwanted judgment or been marginalized for circumstances beyond their control, I say this: do not let the hurt define you. Instead, let your life be a beacon of resilience and hope. Embrace every challenge as an opportunity to prove that you are more than the stereotypes assigned to you. And by doing so, you contribute to the slow but steady dismantling of an unjust system. In embracing resilience, remember that every story of triumph begins with struggle. Share your journey, for in your voice lies powerful testimony that can inspire others facing similar battles. Connect with those who understand your pain and uplift one another. Build communities where vulnerability is not a weakness, but a source of strength. Together, you can create a loud chorus of shared experiences that resonates far beyond the confines of personal suffering. Consider the impact of your growth on those around you. By living authentically, you can encourage others to do the same. Small acts of kindness and understanding can ripple outward, igniting sparks of change. Use your narrative to educate others. Help them see the world through your eyes, breaking down the prejudices that often thrive in ignorance. Your experiences equip you with unique insights and perspectives that are invaluable in the quest for equality and understanding. As you navigate your path, recognize that it's okay to seek support. Surround yourself with mentors, allies, and advocates who believe in your potential and who are also committed to standing against societal injustices. Forge partnerships with organizations dedicated to social change, leveraging your story as a tool for advocacy. Together, your efforts can shape a future where judgment is replaced by understanding and compassion becomes the default reaction. Reflect upon the progress you have made, celebrating even the smallest victories. Each step forward, no matter how slight, is a testament to your strength. Allow your journey to foster a sense of gratitude for the lessons learned along the way. While the road may be long and winding, your determination can lead to transformative experiences, not just for yourself, but for future generations who will look back and see the seeds of change you helped plant. Lastly, always remember that your worth is not determined by external validation. Stand tall in your identity and let your light shine brightly. In doing so, you not only honor yourself, but also pave the way for others to embrace their identities and stories fully. This collective movement toward acceptance and equality can and will reshape the narrative for years to come. As I share my personal journey, I invite others to reflect on their own lives in a meaningful way. What small act can you commit to today that has the potential to create ripples of change in your community? It might be something as simple as offering a word of encouragement to a coworker who is struggling, engaging in a respectful dialogue with someone from a different background, or even sharing the stories of those who often go unheard. Remember, whether it is in the boardroom, the classroom, or even the local coffee shop, Every moment of compassion plays a crucial role in weaving a tapestry of connection and understanding. In the quiet revolution of everyday kindness, we find our greatest strength and resilience. We overcome prejudice not through grand proclamations or sweeping gestures, but through our daily commitments to live authentically, to listen actively, and to challenge the status quo with courage. Each act of kindness, each choice to extend grace rather than judgment, becomes a stitch in the fabric of a more equitable society. By shaping our interactions with empathy and purpose, we not only redefine our individual narratives, but also contribute to a collective story that champions justice, inclusivity, and hope. This transformative journey requires a collective commitment to not only recognizing our shared humanity, but also taking tangible steps toward building alliances that can affect meaningful change, ultimately leading us to a more inclusive and compassionate society. In conclusion, my story is but one of many, one among countless narratives of struggle and hope that together create the rich and intricate mosaic of modern America. Each story, like a thread woven into a larger tapestry, contributes to a powerful testament of resilience. It serves as a reminder that the journey toward genuine equity is not merely a destination, but rather a long and winding path, fraught with challenges, setbacks, and yet extraordinary moments of triumph. Each hurdle we encounter is a call to action, urging us to reflect on our collective history while igniting a fervent desire for progress. Every step forward in this race is not just a personal victory, but a homage to the indomitable spirit of those who have come before us. Those who refuse to be defined by outdated judgments, who bravely forged pathways of hope amidst despair. I stand firm in my commitment to fight against the forces of division, to heal the wounds inflicted by years of systemic injustice, and to inspire others to rise alongside me. Together, we carry the burden of history and transform it, knowing that within every individual lies the undeniable potential to shatter the chains of prejudice and embrace a celebration of our shared humanity. With unity, compassion, and relentless persistence, we can cultivate an atmosphere where equality is not a distant dream, but a vibrant reality rooted in the inherent dignity that unites us all. May this narrative serve as both a personal testament and a call to all who face racial challenges. Do not yield to the weight of history. Every day is an opportunity to rise, to affirm your worth, and to pave the way for a future where equality is not a distant dream, but a lived reality. As I walk into tomorrow, I carry with me the lessons of the past, the hope of the present, and the boundless possibility of a world where every individual is cherished for the unique light they bring into it. Together, we can overcome prejudice. Our voices, united in the quest for justice and understanding, echo the promise of a better future for all.